Today I want to show you how Queen Elizabeth is related to the other kings and queens of Europe. Now, Europe today has 12 monarchies, but only 7 of these are kingdoms, which means they're ruled by a king or queen. The other smaller ones are ruled by a prince or duke, or in the case of Vatican City, it's ruled by the Pope. But there are 7 here that are kingdoms. There's the Kingdom of Spain, there's Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and of course the United Kingdom. And all 7 of these monarchs are related, and I'm going to show you how. I'm going to use my European royal family tree chart, which starts with Charlemagne and goes through all the major monarchs throughout European history down to the present. So we're going to look at the bottom here because we're looking at the current monarchs. The closest relative to Queen Elizabeth II is the King of Norway, King Harald V. And that is because both are descendant from King Edward VII of the United Kingdom. So King Edward was followed by King George V in the United Kingdom. But King George V had a sister named Princess Maud who married the King of Norway. So their son, who also became the King of Norway, would be cousin to King George VI in the UK, which was Queen Elizabeth's father. So that makes King Harold and Queen Elizabeth second cousins. So that's the closest connection to Queen Elizabeth. The next 2 closest would be Queen Margrethe of Denmark and King Carl Gustaf of Sweden. In both cases, they are third cousins of Queen Elizabeth, and let me show you how. In the case of Queen Margrethe, we have to go back to King Christian IX of Denmark. So he had a daughter, Princess Alexandra, who married King Edward, and so therefore Queen Elizabeth is a descendant of King Christian of Denmark. And of course, as the current monarch of Denmark, Queen Margrethe is also a descendant of King Christian. And this therefore makes these 2 queens third cousins. King Carl Gustaf of Sweden is a descendant of Queen Victoria through a connection here. Queen Victoria had a son, Prince Arthur, who had a daughter, Princess Margaret, who married the King of Sweden, the current king's grandfather. And of course, Queen Elizabeth is a descendant of Queen Victoria as well, making these 2 monarchs third cousins. Let's look at the Netherlands. The Netherlands actually has the most distant relationship to Queen Elizabeth. You have to go back all the way to King George II to find a connection. King George II of Great Britain had a daughter, Anne, who married Prince William IV of Orange. And from these 2 individuals, their grandson was the first king of the Netherlands. And so then this line continues to the current king. And then, of course, through King George II, the line continues to Queen Elizabeth of the United Kingdom. So this would make these 2 monarchs 7th cousins through their connection to King George II. Okay, finally, we have Spain and Belgium. Spain, again, King Philip of Spain is a descendant of Queen Victoria through Queen Victoria's daughter, Princess Beatrice, who had a daughter, Princess Victoria, who married the King of Spain. Now, it was actually the previous king, King Juan Carlos I, who was third cousins with Queen Elizabeth II through their connection to Queen Victoria. So that makes the current King of Spain third cousins once removed to Queen Elizabeth II. Finally, there is King Philippe of Belgium. Now, King Philippe of Belgium is technically from the same royal family as Queen Elizabeth. Originally, the House of Windsor was known as the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, a German house. And they changed the name to Windsor during World War I in order to distance themselves from this German-sounding name. So technically, the House of Windsor is the same house as the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, which is also the royal house of Belgium at the moment. So we can kind of consider these two individuals to be from the same house, if we look at it that way. So there's definitely going to be a connection there. We have to go back to Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, who was of this family, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, grandson of Duke Francis. Originally, this house was called the House of Wettin. That's the kind of parent house. And if we go through a different grandson, we end up with the current monarchs of Belgium all the way to King Philippe. So through this connection, these two individuals would be fifth cousins through the House of Wettin, Saxe-Coburg, and Gotha. But they actually have a closer connection because King Philippe has a grandmother who was a princess of Sweden. And if we go over here and look, that princess of Sweden had a Danish mother who was a descendant of King Christian IX of Denmark, who we already said was also an ancestor of Queen Elizabeth. So through that connection, it actually makes these two individuals a little closer. It makes them third cousins once removed. So there you have it, all 7 current kings and queens of Europe. All have a connection with each other and to Queen Elizabeth II through their various ancestors. And if you would like to buy a copy of this poster, the European Royal Family Tree, you can do so at my website, usefulcharts.com. Thanks for watching.